The emergency signal reached every human colony at the same moment. Across 12 star systems, people stopped what they were doing and looked up at screens that had turned blood red with warning codes. Ambassador Lyra was the first to deliver the news in person. She was Fenari, a species known for their pale blue skin and talent for diplomacy. But today, her usually calm face showed pure terror as she stepped off her shuttle at Frontier Station Delta. "They have voted," she said to the station commander. "The Hegemony Council met in secret, 12 species, all of them agreed, humanity must be erased." The commander felt his blood go cold. "How long do we have?" "They are already here." At that exact moment, the deep space sensors began to scream. 500 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They stretched across the void like a wall of death, their weapons already charging. The Hegemony had planned this attack for years. They waited until Earth's main battle fleet was deployed at the far edge of human territory, 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The frontier zone had only a skeleton defense force, 23 patrol vessels, 8 cargo haulers, and 1 ship that should have been in a museum. Admiral Yuri Petrov was 78 years old. His hair was white, his hands showed spots of age, and he walked with a slight limp from an old wound. He had retired 5 years ago after serving humanity for over 50 years. Today, he was aboard the frigate Steadfast for a memorial ceremony. This old ship was the first human vessel to achieve faster-than-light travel 180 years ago. Now it served as a monument to human achievement. But monuments do not fight wars. The station commander found Petrov standing alone on the Steadfast observation deck, watching the approaching fleet through the viewport. Each enemy ship was 10 times the size of the old frigate. "Admiral," the commander said, "I know you are retired, I know this ship is ancient, but you are the highest-ranking officer in this sector. I am begging you, take command." Petrov did not look away from the window. "What forces do we have?" 23 patrol boats, 8 cargo ships with basic weapons, and, the commander paused, and the Steadfast. "Against 500 warships." "Yes, sir." Petrov was silent for a long moment. Then he asked a strange question. "Do you know why I came here today, Commander? Why I travel to this old ship every year on this date?" "The memorial, sir, for the crew who served on her." "No," Petrov finally turned around. His eyes were sharp despite his age. "I come here to remember what this ship did, what she is capable of. The records are classified. They have been sealed for over a century. But I read them once long ago when I was young and foolish enough to ask questions." He walked past the commander toward the bridge. His limp seemed to disappear with each step. "Unseal those records," Petrov said. "Send them to my quarters and sound general quarters." The commander stared. "Sir, you cannot be serious. One old frigate against an armada." Petrov stopped at the door. "One old frigate bought humanity time once before. History has a way of repeating itself." He touched the wall of the ship gently, like greeting an old friend. "Get me a crew, volunteers only. No one who has children waiting at home." Within 1 hour, the Steadfast had a full crew. Every position was filled by volunteers who knew they were likely flying to their deaths. Lieutenant Anna Reyes, a young weapons officer who had never seen real combat, took her station at the tactical console. Captain Samuel Okonkwo, a veteran of the border wars who had served under Petrov decades ago, arrived to serve as second in command. "You should have stayed retired, old man," Okonkwo said as he took his position. "And miss this." Petrov sat in the command chair. It creaked under him. "The Hegemony has gathered 500 ships to kill us. They must think we are very dangerous." "Are we?" Petrov smiled. It was not a kind smile. "They have no idea." He opened a communication channel to the approaching fleet. Every ship in the Hegemony Armada received his message. "This is Admiral Yuri Petrov of the Earth Coalition frigate Steadfast. I advise you to reconsider your actions. Turn back now, and no one needs to die today. On the bridge of the Hegemony flagship, High Commander Draven heard the message and laughed. He was Sithrani, a species of tall reptilian warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. His scales were dark green, his eyes yellow with vertical pupils. "One ship," Draven said to his officers. "They send one ancient ship and one old human to face us. This is the species the Council fears." He leaned forward in his throne. "All ships continue advance. We will be done with this before the day ends." But in the corner of the bridge, an elderly Sithrani advisor named General Morvax heard the name of the human ship. His scales went pale. His hands began to shake. He had heard that name before, 180 years ago, when he was young and foolish, and thought the Sithrani could never be defeated. The name Steadfast had haunted his nightmares ever since. General Morvax pushed through the crowded bridge of the flagship, his old bones aching with every step. Officers moved aside for him, though most did not hide their annoyance. He was a relic from another age, kept around only because tradition demanded respect for veterans. "High Commander," Morvax said, his voice cracking, "I must speak with you, it is urgent." Draven barely glanced at him. "Not now, old one, we are about to make history." "That ship," Morvax pointed at the tactical display where the tiny dot of the Steadfast was visible. "I know that ship. I fought against it. Please, you must listen to me." This caught Draven's attention. He turned his yellow eyes toward the old general. "You fought humans, when?" 180 years ago, during the first encounter." Morvax's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "We sent 40 ships to subjugate them. They had just discovered faster-than-light travel. We thought they would be easy prey, primitive, weak. And only 9 of our ships returned." Silence fell across the bridge. Officers stopped their work to listen. Morvax continued, his eyes distant with memory. "That ship, the Steadfast, was alone against us, just one vessel. We laughed at first. We fired everything we had, but it would not die. For 72 hours it fought us. It did not fight like any species we had ever faced. The humans adapted to every tactic we used. They changed their strategy in the middle of battle. They sacrificed parts of their ship to save other parts. They kept coming even when they should have been dead." Draven snorted. "One ship destroyed 31 of ours. Impossible." "Not destroyed." Morvax shook his head slowly. "The humans did not try to destroy us. They disabled our weapons, crippled our engines, made us helpless. Then they boarded our ships one by one." His scales had gone completely pale now. "Have you ever seen a human up close, Commander? They are small, soft, they look weak, but when they fight—" He trailed off. "I watched a human soldier take 7 shots from a plasma rifle and keep walking. She killed 4 of my men before she finally fell. And she was smiling." Draven waved his hand dismissively. "Old stories. The humans have grown soft since then. They trade with us. They negotiate. They are not warriors. That is what they want you to believe." But Draven had already turned away. "Enough. All ships increase speed. I want this finished within the hour." On the Steadfast, Admiral Petrov sat alone in his quarters reading through the classified files he had requested. The screen showed old footage from the first encounter. He watched a younger version of himself, barely 20 years old, firing a weapon down a corridor filled with Sithrani soldiers. A knock came at his door. "Enter." Lieutenant Reyes stepped inside. She was nervous. "Admiral, Captain Okonkwo sent me to check on you. The enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Petrov nodded but did not look up from the screen. "Tell me, Lieutenant, what do you know about this ship?" The Steadfast. She was the first human FTL vessel, a museum piece now. "Is that all?" Reyes hesitated. "There are rumors, stories the older officers tell, about what happened during first contact." "They are not rumors." Petrov finally turned off the screen and stood. "This ship has a secret, Lieutenant. After the first encounter, the Sithrani demanded we destroy it as part of the peace treaty. We agreed. Officially, the original Steadfast was scrapped. But it was not. Petrov smiled. We rebuilt her, piece by piece. The hull you see is a replica, but the heart of this ship, her engine core, is the original. Human engineers designed something during the war that the galaxy still does not understand. We never shared it, never explained it. He led her out of his quarters toward the bridge. The hegemony thinks they are facing a museum piece, an antique with outdated weapons and slow engines. Are they wrong? Our weapons are old, yes, but accurate. Our shields are weak, but our engines, Petrov's eyes gleamed. Our engines are something else entirely. They reached the bridge. The main view screen showed the hegemony fleet, now close enough to see individual ships. Captain Okonkwo looked up from his console. Orders, Admiral. How many of our patrol vessels are ready? All 23. But sir, they are asking what the plan is. Some of them think we should retreat, save what we can. Petrov shook his head. No retreat. Have them spread out in formation Theta 7, wide dispersal pattern. Okonkwo frowned. That formation makes no tactical sense. We would be too spread out to support each other. Exactly. Petrov sat in the command chair. The hegemony does not know how humans fight. Not really. They have read reports, studied our trade vessels, but they have never faced us in true combat. They think we are like other species, predictable, logical. He brought up the tactical display. We are not going to fight 500 ships, Captain. We are going to make them fight each other. How? Petrov pointed to the center of the enemy formation. Their fleet is packed tight. Standard hegemony doctrine. Maximum firepower concentration. But in tight formation, friendly fire becomes a problem. Lieutenant Reyes understood suddenly. You are going to fly into the middle of them. This old ship against all of them. Petrov nodded. And when they all fire at once, when they panic and shoot at everything that moves, they will hit each other more than they hit us. Okonkwo stared at him. That is insane. That is human. Petrov opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Petrov. Here is what we are going to do. I'm going to make the enemy very angry. When their formation breaks, when chaos spreads through their ranks, you will strike their supply ships at the rear. Do not engage their warships. Hit their supplies, their fuel tankers, their ammunition transports. Make them afraid. Make them doubt. And above all, stay alive. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Now, let us remind the galaxy what one human ship can do. The Steadfast's engines flared with light that seemed impossible for a vessel so old, and she began to fly straight toward 500 warships, alone. High Commander Draven watched the tactical display with disbelief. The human frigate was not running. It was not hiding. It was flying directly at his fleet at impossible speed. What is that ship doing? He demanded. His tactical officer, a young Sithrani named Varn, checked his readings 3 times before answering. Sir, the human vessel is accelerating toward our center formation. Current speed is... He paused, confusion crossing his face. That cannot be right. What? The readings show the frigate moving at speeds that should be impossible for a ship of that class. Our records indicate human frigates have a maximum velocity of 0.7 light speed. This vessel is exceeding 0.9. Draven hissed. Then our records are wrong. All ships open fire, destroy that vessel. Across the hegemony fleet, 500 ships turned their weapons toward one small target. Plasma beams, missile volleys, and kinetic rounds filled the space between them. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Steadfast danced. There was no other word for it. Admiral Petrov sat calmly in his chair, calling out commands while his helmsman, a young man named David, worked the controls with supernatural precision. Hard port, drop 30 degrees. Roll right, now boost. The old frigate twisted through the storm of weapons fire like water flowing around stones. Shots that should have torn her apart missed by meters. Some even struck other hegemony vessels behind her. "They are hitting each other," Lieutenant Reyes reported, her voice rising with excitement. "3 ships disabled by friendly fire already." "That is just the beginning." Petrov studied the tactical display. "Their formation is breaking. They are spreading out to get clearer shots, exactly what we want." On the flagship, Draven was screaming at his officers. "Spread out. Give our ships room to fire. And someone tell me how that antique is moving so fast." General Morvax watched from the corner, his old heart pounding. He had seen this before. 180 years ago, that same ship had moved the same way, dancing through destruction, refusing to die. "They modified the engine," he said quietly. No one heard him over the chaos. "After the first encounter, they improved it, made it faster, stronger." The Steadfast burst through the center of the hegemony formation. For one moment, she was surrounded by enemies on all sides. Every ship in range fired at once. And every ship missed. Petrov had timed the maneuver perfectly. At the exact moment the enemy fired, he ordered full reverse thrust while rolling the ship in a corkscrew pattern. The Steadfast seemed to stop in midair while spinning. Weapons fire passed through the space she had just occupied. Those shots did not disappear into empty void. They hit the ships on the opposite side of the formation. The hegemony cruiser Vengeance took 3 plasma beams from its own allies. Its shields collapsed, and its hull began to burn. The destroyer Crimson Fang lost its main engine to a missile fired by a sister ship. The carrier Dominion was struck by kinetic rounds that should never have been aimed in its direction. Chaos spread through the fleet like fire. "What is happening?" Draven demanded. His tactical display was a mess of red warning lights. "We are destroying ourselves." "The human, sir." Varn's voice was shaking. "He is using us against each other. He flies between our ships at the moment we fire, causing us to hit our own vessels." "Then stop firing." "If we stop firing, he will destroy us himself." It was true. The Steadfast's weapons were old, but they were accurate. As she danced through the formation, her gun crews targeted specific systems on each enemy ship. They did not aim to kill. They aimed to cripple. Engine cores, weapons arrays, sensor dishes, shield generators. Lieutenant Reyes called out targets while her teams fired with perfect precision. Each shot disabled something critical. Ships went dark. Ships drifted. Ships crashed into each other as they lost control. 27 ships disabled, she reported. 12 by friendly fire, 15 by our weapons. Petrov nodded. "Time." 18 minutes since engagement began. "We need to buy more time. Where are our patrol vessels?" Captain Okonkwo checked the tactical map. "Moving into position at the enemy rear. They will reach the supply ships in approximately 10 minutes. "Good." Petrov looked at the view screen. The Steadfast was approaching the thickest part of the enemy formation. Now comes the hard part. He opened a channel to the entire hegemony fleet. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "Attention all hegemony vessels. This is Admiral Petrov. You have now lost 27 ships to 1 ancient frigate. Your formation is broken. Your commanders are confused, and you have not even scratched my paint." He paused to let that sink in. "I am going to make you an offer. Turn around now. Leave human space. Tell your council that humanity is not worth the cost, or stay and watch me take apart your fleet 1 ship at a time. The choice is yours." Draven's response came immediately. "You dare mock us. You are 1 ship, we are 500. You were 500, now you are 473, and falling." The channel went silent. Draven turned to his bridge crew, his yellow eyes burning with rage. "Personal guard squadron, with me. We end this ourselves." His flagship began to move, accompanied by 12 of the most powerful destroyers in the hegemony fleet. They would hunt the Steadfast together. But Admiral Petrov saw them coming, and he smiled. "They are taking the bait," he said quietly. Captain, execute Phase 2, lead them into the debris field. The Steadfast turned and flew toward the wreckage of disabled ships floating in space. Draven's squadron followed, hungry for revenge. They did not notice the human patrol vessels approaching their undefended supply line from behind. The debris field was a graveyard of disabled ships. Hegemony vessels drifted without power, their crews alive but helpless. Between them floated chunks of hull, broken weapons, and clouds of frozen gas from ruptured fuel lines. The Steadfast flew into this maze of wreckage, with Draven's squadron right behind her. "He thinks the debris will protect him," Draven growled. "Foolish, all ships spread out, surround the area, he cannot hide forever." His 13 vessels fanned out around the debris field. They moved carefully, avoiding the floating wrecks, their sensors searching for the human frigate. The Steadfast had gone silent, no engine signature, no weapons activity. She had vanished among the dead ships. Admiral Petrov sat in complete darkness. He had ordered all systems reduced to minimum power. The bridge was lit only by dim emergency lights. His crew barely breathed. "Status of our patrol vessels," he whispered. Captain Okonkwo checked his screen, the glow reflecting off his dark skin. "They have reached the enemy supply line. Engagement has begun." Petrov nodded. Somewhere behind the main hegemony fleet, 23 small patrol boats were attacking fuel tankers and ammunition transports. It was not a fight they could win, but it was a fight that would cause panic. "Sir," Lieutenant Reyes said softly, "enemy destroyer approaching our position. 200 meters and closing." "Let it pass, do not move." The hegemony destroyer slid by them, so close they could see the individual lights on its hull. Its sensors swept the area but found nothing. The Steadfast was hiding behind the wreck of a disabled carrier, her power signature masked by the larger ship's residual energy. The destroyer moved on. Petrov waited until it was 500 meters away. Then he gave the order. "Target their engines, fire." The Steadfast came alive in an instant. 3 precision shots struck the destroyer's engine core before its crew could react. The ship went dark and began to drift, adding to the graveyard. "One down," Reyes said, 12 to go. Draven received the report and slammed his fist against his command throne. "He is picking us off one by one. All ships converge on that position." But by the time his squadron reached the spot, the Steadfast was gone. She had slipped away through a gap in the debris, moving to another hiding spot. For the next 20 minutes, the same pattern repeated. The Steadfast would appear suddenly, disable a ship, and vanish before the others could respond. Draven lost 3 more destroyers before he understood what was happening. "He is hunting us," the High Commander realized. "We came to destroy him and he is hunting us." General Morvax had followed his commander to the flagship's bridge. He watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "This is how humans fight," he said. "They do not meet you head-on. They wait. They watch. They find your weakness. And then they strike when you least expect it." "I did not ask for your commentary," Draven snapped. "You should have. I tried to warn you." An alarm sounded. One of Draven's officers looked up with fear in his eyes. "High Commander, we are receiving reports from the rear of the fleet. Human vessels are attacking our supply ships." "What? How many?" 23 patrol boats. They have already destroyed 4 fuel tankers and 2 ammunition transports. Draven felt his blood run cold. Without fuel, his fleet could not return home. Without ammunition, they could not fight. The human admiral had planned this from the beginning. The Steadfast was not trying to defeat them. She was just the distraction. "All ships break off pursuit. Return to protect the supply line." But his flagship and remaining destroyers were deep in the debris field. It would take time to navigate out safely, and every moment they delayed, more supply ships burned. Petrov watched the enemy squadron begin to withdraw. He had bought time, but not enough. "How long until Earth's main fleet arrives?" he asked. Okonkwo checked the latest communication. 17 days, Admiral. "We cannot hold them for 17 days. Petrov studied the tactical display. The hegemony still had over 400 functional warships. Even with their supply line damaged, they could still overwhelm Frontier Station Delta and every human colony in the sector. "Then what do we do?" Reyes asked. Petrov was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm but heavy with meaning. "We make them afraid to continue, not afraid of our weapons, not afraid of our numbers, afraid of us, afraid of what humanity is willing to do." He stood from his chair and walked to the view screen. Draven's flagship was visible in the distance, trying to navigate through the debris. "Open a channel to the Hegemony High Commander, private frequency." The communication connected. Draven's reptilian face appeared on screen, his yellow eyes burning with hatred. "What do you want, human?" "A challenge," Petrov said. "Single combat, my ship against yours. No interference from either fleet. If I win, your armada leaves human space forever. If you win, our remaining forces surrender." Draven stared at him. "You would risk everything on one fight." "I would risk everything to protect my people. Can you say the same?" The challenge hung in the air between them. Draven knew he should refuse. His flagship was the most powerful vessel in the fleet. Victory was certain, but there was something in the old human's eyes that made him hesitate. "Why should I accept? I could simply destroy you with overwhelming numbers." "You could try," Petrov smiled. "But you have already seen what happens when you try. Accept my challenge, Commander, or spend the next 17 days watching your fleet tear itself apart trying to kill one old man." Draven's pride won over his caution. "I accept." The channel closed. Petrov turned to his crew. "Prepare for battle, and someone find me the self-destruct codes for the reactor." The two ships faced each other across empty space while the rest of the Hegemony fleet watched. On one side, Draven's flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. On the other, the Steadfast, an ancient frigate that looked like a toy in comparison. Admiral Petrov addressed his crew one final time. "What we are about to do will likely end in our deaths. I will not order anyone to stay. Escape pods are ready. Those who wish to leave may do so without shame." No one moved. Lieutenant Reyes spoke for all of them. "We did not volunteer to run away, Admiral. We volunteered to fight." Petrov looked at each face on his bridge. 10 people, 10 humans who had chosen to die beside him. He felt pride fill his chest. "Then let us show them what humans are made of. Battle stations." The fight began. Draven's dreadnought opened fire with everything it had. Plasma beams thick as buildings sliced through space. Missiles launched in waves of dozens. Kinetic rounds the size of cars screamed toward the tiny frigate. The Steadfast moved. Her unique engine core pushed her to speeds that seemed impossible, letting her weave through the storm of weapons. But she could not dodge everything. The first plasma beam grazed her starboard side, melting armor plating. The second struck her rear shields, which flickered and died. "Shields down," Okonkwo reported. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. Return fire. Target their weapons arrays." The Steadfast's guns were old but precise. They struck Draven's flagship again and again, destroying gun turrets and missile launchers. But for every weapon they disabled, the dreadnought had 10 more. A missile struck the Steadfast's port engine. The ship lurched violently. David, the helmsman, was thrown from his seat. He hit the wall hard and did not get up. "David," Reyes rushed to his side. His neck was bent at a wrong angle. He was dead. "Take the helm," Petrov ordered. His voice did not waver. "Keep us moving." Reyes wiped tears from her eyes and took David's position. Her hands shook, but she flew the ship. More hits came. The Steadfast was being torn apart piece by piece, but she kept fighting. She kept moving, and she kept hurting Draven's flagship. After 30 minutes of combat, both ships were damaged. The Dreadnought had lost half its weapons and its shields were failing. The Steadfast was in worse shape. Fires burned on multiple decks. Life support was failing. Only 7 crew members remained alive. Captain Okonkwo worked frantically at his station when an explosion rocked the bridge. A console burst, sending shrapnel flying. One piece caught him in the chest. Ray screamed his name and ran to him. Blood was pooling beneath him. He grabbed her arm with surprising strength. "Finish this," he gasped. "Make it count." Then he was gone. Petrov stood from his chair. His face was stone. "All remaining crew abandoned ship. Lieutenant, that includes you." "No," Ray shook her head. "I am staying." "That was not a request." "With respect, Admiral, I do not care." She looked at him with fierce determination. "Someone needs to fly this ship. And someone needs to tell the story of what happened here. Let me do both, for as long as I can." Petrov stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "The rest of you get to the escape pods, now." The remaining crew obeyed. Petrov watched them go. Then he turned back to the view screen. Draven's flagship was limping closer, its weapons still firing. The Steadfast could barely maneuver now, but Petrov had one last card to play. He opened a channel to the entire hegemony fleet. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. "Attention all vessels. This is Admiral Yuri Petrov of the Earth Coalition frigate Steadfast. In a few moments this ship will be destroyed. But before that happens, I want you to remember something." He paused. "One old ship, 10 humans. That is all it took to cripple your invasion. We destroyed 84 of your vessels. We burned your supply line. We made your commanders look like fools. And we did it not because we had superior weapons or numbers. We did it because we refused to give up." The Steadfast's reactor began to glow brighter. Petrov had entered the overload sequence. "You came here to kill a species you thought was weak. You were wrong. Humanity is not weak. We are stubborn. We are creative. We are willing to sacrifice everything for those we love. And if you continue this war, if you try again, you will face millions of ships crewed by people just like me. People who will never stop fighting. People who will make you pay for every inch of space you take." He guided the crippled Steadfast toward Draven's flagship. The Dreadnought tried to move away, but its engines were damaged. It could not escape. "So here is my final message to your council, to your leaders, to everyone watching this transmission." The Steadfast slammed into Draven's command deck. In the last second, Petrov shoved Rays into the final escape pod and launched it manually. His last words echoed across the void. "This is what one old man in one old ship was willing to do. Imagine what happens when you face all of us." The reactor detonated. The explosion consumed both ships in a ball of white fire. When the light faded, nothing remained of the Steadfast or Draven's flagship but dust and debris. Lieutenant Rays watched from her escape pod, tears streaming down her face. Around her, the hegemony fleet had gone silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They had just watched a legend die. And in his death, Admiral Yuri Petrov had become something far more dangerous than any weapon. He had become a symbol. 3 days after the explosion, the Earth Coalition main fleet arrived at the frontier zone. Admiral Wei commanded from the bridge of the carrier Resolute, expecting to find human colonies in ashes and the hegemony celebrating victory. Instead, she found something impossible. The hegemony was gone. 416 warships had retreated from human space without firing another shot. They left behind the wrecks of 84 disabled vessels and a debris field that stretched across thousands of kilometers. Lieutenant Rays was recovered from her escape pod the same day. She was taken to the Resolute and brought before Admiral Wei to explain what had happened. She told them everything. She told them about Admiral Petrov's plan to use the Steadfast as bait, about flying through 500 enemy ships and making them destroy each other, about the single combat challenge that ended in mutual destruction, about Petrov's final words broadcast to the entire hegemony fleet. When she finished, Admiral Wei sat in silence for a long time. "He saved us," she finally said. "One man and one ship saved the entire frontier zone." Ambassador Lyra, who had survived the battle at the station, provided more details. After Petrov's death, chaos had spread through the hegemony command structure. High Commander Draven's personal guard was dead. The fleet had no clear leader. General Morvax, the old Sithrani veteran, had taken emergency command. His first order was simple: retreat. His message to the other hegemony commanders was recorded and later obtained by human intelligence. "We came here to destroy a species we thought was inferior. We sent 500 warships to crush them. And what happened? One ancient frigate, one old human. They killed our high commander. They destroyed or disabled 84 of our ships. They made us look like children playing at war." His voice had been tired, defeated. "I have faced humans before. 180 years ago, I watched that same ship slaughter my comrades. I warned Draven. He did not listen. Now he is dead and we are running home with our tails between our legs. If the Council wishes to try again, they may do so without me. I am finished fighting humans. There is no victory against a species that fights like they do, only death." 1 year later, the Hegemony Council requested formal peace negotiations. 12 species that had once voted for human extinction now voted for a permanent treaty. Ambassador Lyra, who had risked everything to warn humanity, was chosen to represent the new alliance. The treaty was signed aboard a human space station. The main hall was filled with diplomats from across the galaxy, and at the center of the room, on a pedestal of honor, sat a single piece of burned hull plating. It was all that remained of the Steadfast. Lieutenant Reyes attended the ceremony, but she was no longer a lieutenant. The Earth Coalition had promoted her twice and given her command of a new ship, the most advanced frigate ever built by human hands. They named it the Petrov. After the treaty signing, Reyes stood alone in the hall. The diplomats had left. The crowds had gone. Only she remained, standing before the hull fragment. She remembered the Admiral's face in those final moments, the calm certainty in his eyes, the way he had pushed her into the escape pod and saved her life while ending his own. "I did what you asked," she said quietly. "I told the story, and I will keep telling it. Every time someone asks why humans should be feared, every time someone thinks we are weak." She touched the burned metal gently. "You always said this ship had a heart, a soul, something the galaxy could not understand. I think I understand now. It was never the engine that made the Steadfast special. It was the people who crewed her, people willing to die for something bigger than themselves." A young officer appeared at the doorway. "Captain Reyes, we are ready to depart." Reyes nodded but did not turn around. "One moment." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small medal. It was the Coalition Star, the highest honor humanity could give. The Council had awarded it to Admiral Petrov posthumously. She placed it on the pedestal beside the hull fragment. "Rest now, Admiral. We will take it from here." She walked to the door, then stopped and looked back one more time. "Still steady," she whispered. Then she left to command her new ship. The Petrov launched from the station and set course for the Peace Summit, where the final details of the treaty would be completed. As it flew, every hegemony vessel it passed powered down their weapons and moved aside, not because they were ordered to, because they remembered. They remembered what one old man in one old ship had done. And they never wanted to face humanity again. The galaxy learned something that day. Humans do not measure strength in numbers. They measure it in will. And the will of one person, standing against impossible odds, refusing to surrender, refusing to give up, can change the course of history. Admiral Yuri Petrov understood this. He gave his life proving it. And humanity would never forget.